Joint Cross-Constituency Call for Sanitation and Water for All partners. My name is Daniel Ddiba. I'm joining you from Stockholm, and I have the awesome privilege of moderating today's event. And I am looking forward to a wonderful, well, afternoon for me, but perhaps it's different depending on which time zone you're joining from. So I'm looking forward to a wonderful afternoon of knowledge exchange, sharing and learning from one another about what climate change has to do with water, sanitation, and hygiene systems, and how we can work together as SWA partners to advance solutions for climate resilience. Now, to begin with, just a few housekeeping issues. As you can see on the screen, we are privileged to have some awesome interpreters today helping us talk to one another in multiple languages. So I would like to request every one of you to please click on the language that you would like to listen to. And I think, yeah, there is some instructions as you can see on the screen. Usually, if you're joining from a desktop, there should be some globe-like icon that you can click and then choose what language you prefer to listen to, and also the language that you will speak if at all you do have the opportunity to speak later. So please do that now rather than later, so that everything flows smoothly and so that you make it much easier for our awesome interpreters today. The program for us today, if you could kindly show the next slide, is going to be quite packed. We have a list of esteemed colleagues that are going to be sharing with us a number of case studies, but also sharing us their insights and expertise with regards to this particular topic today. As you can see, I'm not going to run through the whole program just to save time, but I will take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Kevin Roussel, who is going to give us the first welcoming and opening remarks. Kevin, you're most welcome to take the floor.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm joining you all from Cape Town, where I'm on the margin of an AU-AIP summit. So I hope that the connection is good. But colleagues, it's a real honor to be here with you today and to welcome you to this cross-constituency call. I am at the moment the regional coordinator for Africa and the Middle East, but also playing a role as the country and partner engagement lead for the SMM. And this is important, of course, because most of you will engage with Bella and Vanessa. If things go wrong, you can probably blame me. If things go right, you can thank the two of them. But I have a bit of a responsibility today to just set the scene for this call. And you may recall, and a big thanks to all of you, in 2024, we did a poll of partners. And interestingly enough, of course, climate change and WASH or resilience ranked as the top priority across constituencies. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. I think it's indicative of how much we are on top of the cutting edge of issues. And that poll will, of course, involve everybody, all non-government partners, research, civil society, private sector, utilities, regulators, external support agencies, and likes. And what we also recognized was that all of these partners would be key to developing, financing, and scaling solutions, right? And this essentially comes out into two sort of blocks of things we can think about. Number one is the objectives, and number two, the expected outcome. And from the objective side, it was pretty clear that the work we could do was to highlight, firstly, the contribution stakeholders were already making in the climate resilient water and sanitation and hygiene space, share, of course, evidence and innovation, practical experiences amongst each other and with government and decision makers, but also to identify collaboration opportunities. And of course, the outcomes of these objectives were, a little bit in reverse order here, actionable collaboration ideas. That is a theme that came up really strongly. And of course, recommendations then to strengthen SWA's climate work and ultimately to lead to stronger cross-sector collaboration. Next slide, please. So how does this all come together now? Well, we've asked partners questions, you've answered, and these are now forming some really significant linkages to the sector ministers meeting happening in Madrid, October 22nd and 23rd. Number one, we have seen the evidence that has been provided by this group of stakeholders and the perspectives have started to already inform the agenda, inform ministerial discussions in the preparatory process, and especially inform them on the issues that matter, such as climate resilience, water sanitation, and hygiene. Of course, a lot of the work we're doing and the solutions and objectives and outcomes we've identified before support the SMN thematic priorities on climate action and sustainable service delivery. But importantly, also, as we've seen through the prep process, in regional webinars and in bilaterals, the practical recommendations and examples for ministers are becoming quite important considerations in policy and investment decisions. So this also brings us again to the need to constantly highlight the role of the non-government actors in supporting these country-led efforts, reinforming, of course, our commitments ministers will then make at the SNN. So lastly, this call today is intended to build further consensus, of course, mobilize our stakeholders ahead of the high-level leaders compact launch, which will happen in October, and to strengthen political commitment and collaborative action on water sanitation and climate at all levels. So with this said, I wish us all a fruitful meeting. I'm really keen to hear new actionable ideas and once again, lead us to that really important point, right, of strengthening our sector collaboration. Thank you so much, Daniel. Let me hand back to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kevin, for that high-level introduction, I might say, and giving us a quick overview of why exactly we are here today. Colleagues, I am happy to announce there is over 96 of us in the call today, and I am sure there is several more that will be joining us soon. I see in the chats people joining from Germany, Nepal, Kenya, Malawi, Switzerland, yes, Switzerland again, Portugal, Brazil, Peru, USA, and of course, yeah, Sweden as well myself. So this is quite a very global participation that we are having today. And I hope that as we continue with the presentations and the discussions, we'll be able to learn and hear perspectives from different corners of the world. Now, in our next slot, which is just beginning in a second, we are privileged to have Mr. José Gesti, who co-leads the SWA Climate Task Team, and he's going to provide us with a quite in-depth framing for today's topic about climate resilience and water sanitation and hygiene systems. Some of us perhaps might know a thing or two, but I guess by the end of Mr. José's presentations, we'll know much, much more and will be somewhat little experts on this particular topic. So I'm handing over to you, José. Please take us through it.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Good morning, afternoon, evening to all of you participating of this very exciting gathering. It was very exciting to hear in this voting over the different SWA constituencies that there is such a high interest to understand better how can we collaborate and to build opportunities around climate action across constituencies. The aim of this framing presentation is only about that, is to kick off this discussion on opportunities and jointly discuss potential challenges that prevent us from further collaboration across constituencies to take forward this important job towards climate resilient water, sanitation, and hygiene. I have prepared a few slides that will take us through why is it important for us, as well as why do we think we are well positioned to work on climate action as a partnership. And I will drive a little bit more attention to what is our theory of change for our partnership engagement in climate action, as well as super quickly reviewing a little bit of our work, and I will make a final plea and call to action for further collaboration. So, starting with, as I said, with why climate action matters for such a large partnership that we are, right? And obviously, I think the answer is clear to all of you. We are witnessing and living a global crisis that demands our attention, demands integration of climate into everything we do towards universal access to water, sanitation, and hygiene services. We know that climate change is clearly disrupting these services, preventing and even taking us backward in terms of access to these essential services. We know that water supply, sanitation, and hygiene are victims, if we can call them like that, of the climate change impacts. But it is important to highlight that these essential services are critical to build community resilience. So therefore, we need to consider ourselves a critical part of the solution. The climate risks are exacerbating, unfortunately, the inequalities that challenge the realization of the human rights to water and sanitation. And as I said, it is because of that integrating climate action into everything we do, it is essential to ensure sustainability, resiliency, and equitable access. We wanted to showcase here a quote from Katerina Dalburg-Kerke, our Chief Executive Officer, that recently said, while discussions about global climate policy frequently focus on energy sources and energy in general, the urgent socioeconomic impacts of climate change are closely tied to water and sanitation issues. So let's carry that forward. Next slide, please. So why do we think that us as a partnership, we are uniquely positioned? So as a reminder, we are a multi-stakeholder partnership with more than 400 partners. And as it has been discussed, and here we are together, a multi-stakeholder meeting across different constituencies with the purpose that we have highlighted today to discuss opportunities as well as challenges to take our work on climate action further. We are uniquely positioned as our partnership has ramifications at all levels, at local, national, regional, and global levels. We are engaging and delivering at all these levels. We convene actors around shared commitments, and we have a powerful mutual accountability mechanism that is proven a successful mechanism to make commitments and deliver throughout our partnership on climate action. Our added value is that we have a high-level political convening power, plus sector expertise, plus we are well aligned with global agendas, not just the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, but the Paris Agreement and other global frameworks. Next one, please. I wanted to draw your attention, as I said, so that we all have clear what is our vision, what is our theory of change. Our work on climate action is not just to pop up in global conferences by any means. This is, I could say, 0.1% of our efforts of our time. And I want to draw your attention specifically on this slide so that we can jointly discuss, integrate, and build on this. As we said in the previous slide, we work at local, national, regional, and global levels. And therefore, the expected outcome of our joint work on climate action is that we build a coherent, country-led, climate resilient water, sanitation, and hygiene services that uphold the human rights. So how do we go about that? We do work at the global level, leveraging SDG 6, Sustainable Development Goal 6, but also Paris Agreement, and a proof of it and testimony is our hard work to get climate resilient water supply and sanitation well embedded within the Paris Agreement, which we have done. We also work closely with disaster risk reduction and global Sendai framework. We are promoting the integration of water, sanitation, and hygiene into all these agreements. But this could be just talk and paper if this global influencing is not as quickly as we can, translated into national alignment. And here, of course, we are very well positioned, having SWA with other key partners leading on a heads of state initiative, which is a great opportunity to embed climate resilient water supply and sanitation and make it a high level national policy priority, bridging water sanitation and hygiene policy with national adaptation plans, with nationally determined contributions and commitment made at national level on not only water, sanitation, and hygiene, but also on climate. And again, any of these could make any sense if we are not able as a partnership to ensure at the local level that the wash systems and services on the ground are resilient and are sustainable and are inclusive. Our job and our commitment as a secretariat is to guide this strategy, to guide us as a partnership, but it is obviously for partners to lead on the delivery. The next one, please. I just have 2 slides more. This one we have on the screen is the most difficult one because we as a secretariat and you as partners, we are doing so much and we deserve recognition, all of us, for everything that we're doing. I could say that we're moving mountains, and it is true, believe me. I think we are doing it. Together we are doing it. So it is impossible to comprise and compress in one slide all that we do. But let me highlight a few things. We have a very strong sanitation and water for all climate task team, co-led by colleagues in UNICEF and IVL currently. This is a rotation position, and we're doing so much through the power of this task team. We have recently come across and managed to come up an agreed definition on what climate resilient systems are. We have made joint submissions to be part of climate negotiations considered by climate negotiators. We have teamed up to bring to the attention of the Green Climate Fund the importance of having water supply, sanitation, and hygiene well recognized. We're working at the national level with providing support to the formulation of national adaptation plans, nationally determined contributions. As you know, we convene high-level meetings, and the upcoming one in Madrid in October will actually have a strong focus as well on the integration agenda between water, sanitation, hygiene, but also climate and disaster risk reduction. We have, as a partnership, become key partners of climate movements led by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We are part of a powerful initiative such as the Race to Resilience. We collaborate closely with something that is called the Adaptation Committee. We collaborate closely, as I said, with the Green Climate Fund and others. And obviously, we are supporting partner-led initiatives to develop and promote as well climate resilience indicators, an ongoing effort led by UNICEF and WHO to finance access and provide tools. Last slide, please. I will just finish by saying that SWA Secretariat, we are a very small team, but the impact is achieved through all of you. It's achieved through you partners. It is achieved through the collective partnership. Climate action right now is a core dimension for delivering on SDG 6 and the human rights, and each of you and every partner can help turn commitments into action through engaging, advocating, implementing, sharing experiences. And here we are today to discuss this across constituencies. So let's please continue working together. There is an amazing job for us to continue building resilience from the ground up. Over, back to you, Daniel.
Very powerful closing words there. There is indeed an amazing job for us to do and build from the ground up. Thank you very much, José, for that framing and reminding us about the power of partnership and how much we can achieve when we work together, and the outsized influence that we can have on the global stage together as a partnership. Thank you very, very much. Now, colleagues, I want to once again welcome those of you that might have been joining us just in the past few minutes while José was making that framing presentation. Hope you're all in the right call. We are talking climate resilience and water and sanitation systems. But even if you happen to arrive here by mistake, please stay by and let's discuss and learn together how we can work as a partnership to address and generate more resilience in water and sanitation and hygiene systems. Now, as a partnership, we have a wide range of constituencies, as you can see on the slide there: external support agencies, the private sector, utilities and regulators, but also research and learning institutions, as well as civil society. Together, these different constituencies, of course, in addition to the government constituents, makes the partnership that we are together. And of course, as partners coming from different constituencies, we bring a diversity of perspectives. And that's what we have tried to do today. In our next segment, we are going to be hearing from SWA partners that represent all these different constituencies, sharing with us their perspectives, their experiences on what they are doing to address climate action in water, sanitation, and hygiene systems in their particular geographical locations around the world. Now, of course, there's a number of questions that we've asked them, what are they doing to address climate action? How have they fostered multi-stakeholder collaboration? And what can the rest of us learn from the collaborations that they have worked through to address climate action in their particular location? And just a note that, of course, because we are diverse partners, this section is going to be especially multilingual. So just a reminder that please select the language that you would like to listen in. Click the globe icon that is accessible through the 3-dot more icon at the bottom of the screen so that you can be able to access all the content that is going to be shared. And we are fortunate to have Batsirai Majuru from the World Health Organization, who is going to start us off in this section, sharing with us how WHO is building from commitment to action and building resilient regulatory systems through global collaboration. Over to you, Batsy. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Daniel, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joining us today. I work with WHO's WASH team, and it's my pleasure to be talking about some of the work that we are doing to strengthen regulatory systems in order to have effective WASH services, and as part of that, climate resilience built into those services. So I'll talk a bit about that, and also I'll talk about an initiative that we've just launched recently that's really centered around strengthening regulatory systems for WASH. So I wanted to start off by acknowledging that when we talk about regulation, the thought that immediately comes to mind is that of a bureaucratic barrier, as if we are trying to block progress in the sector, when actually the reality could not be even more different, because we know that when we have effective regulatory systems, they're actually key enablers for service efficiency, for economic development, but also for the protection of public health. What we also know is that for those countries that do have regulatory institutions that are carrying out key regulatory functions, they are more likely to be on track to achieve their national targets on water and sanitation. And we are seeing this trend emerging again. Spoiler alert, with the GLASS report that will be coming out in a few weeks, we also see again the importance of regulatory systems that are strong, that are robust, and that are adaptive in advancing water and sanitation services. So why does regulation matter when we talk about climate resilience and WASH? Well, it really matters because we really need regulatory systems that are there to facilitate policy coherence. Gesti was talking earlier about multi-sectoral action, partnerships that we need. And in a lot of countries that are making progress on addressing climate resilience, we see regulators playing this key role as the facilitators of this coordination across sectors, but also making sure that there's alignment between national targets on water and sanitation, but also national adaptation plans for climate as well. We see them playing a key role in fostering innovation through standard setting and encouraging adaptive practices. We also see regulators playing a key role in making sure that there's climate responsive investment in the sector. Actually, on this point, I was reviewing a report a couple of days ago that was really highlighting that there's been a significant drop in funding for the WASH sector, but there's increased funding for the climate sector. And so what does that mean for utilities and service providers that are trying to tap into the funding? They need a framework in which they can work with to be able to understand what is a bankable project, how do we access those projects, and how do we access those funds? And regulators are playing a key role facilitating that process. And the list could go on when we talk about equity, for instance, and ensuring universal access to water and sanitation services, particularly for those areas that are at risk to climate change. And when we talk about the need to embed climate risk assessments and contingency planning into oversight systems, regulators are again at the forefront of all this action. Next slide, please. Now, the converse is true where there are weak regulatory systems. We really see this failure to anticipate climate risks, but also that leads to inadequate infrastructure standards. In a lot of countries now that are facing a lot of the impacts of climate change, there's also this real gap in the role that regulators are playing in terms of preparing service providers and utilities for some of these risks. And again, coming back to climate financing, this can be a real barrier when there's no clear game plan, if I can put it that way, and there's no clear referee around how do we actually climate financing, how do we make sure that your project is bankable, and what are the criteria that you need to meet, what are the national standards that we need to be working with as part of that process. Next slide, please. So as we talk about the need for improved climate resilience for WASH systems and the role that regulation plays, we also need to highlight that the environment for regulation itself needs to be conducive to achieve this. I don't know if you've been following the news lately, but in a lot of countries around the world, we're actually seeing a regression, if I may call it that, in the functions that regulators have previously been able to play. And this has serious impacts, not just on the delivery of WASH services, but for society as a whole. And this can be exacerbated when we throw climate change into the mix. And so some of the work that we do at WHO is coordinating a global network of drinking water and sanitation regulators, but also working with various partners who are also working on regulation. And one of the key needs that came out in discussions that we're having with various partners and the regulators themselves is this need for an improved political environment that regulators operate in, a key need for political recognition of the role that regulation plays and giving space to regulators. And so as part of that, WHO working together with IWA, UNICEF, with Lizwater, and many other partners that are reflected here at DARASA, SWAS, came together and developed a call to action to strengthen water and sanitation regulatory systems. And what this call to action really seeks to address, other than the need for political recognition of the role of regulation that I mentioned earlier, is this coming together of actors, if I may put it that way, to make sure that the work that we're doing around regulation is coordinated, it's aligned with what regulators need. And so when we think about some of the technical assistance that external support partners can be providing, how do we make sure that it is not duplicative, that it's really leveraging on the various partners' strengths, and that it's really bringing value to the regulators and, by extension, to some of the water and sanitation ministries that we're working with in various countries. It also seeks to see better uptake and promotion of good regulatory practices. And again, in the context of climate change, it's not that there's no playbook that a regulator can open and say, okay, this is what I can do to address climate change, and then I'm going to follow it step by step, and that's it. A lot of it is really learning from what has worked in specific contexts and how that might apply in your own context, and continue to share and refine that good practice. The call to action also highlights the need for improved monitoring of the status of water and sanitation regulation around the world. And I'm glad to see there are also partners from Liz Water and others who are doing work on that as well, in addition to some of the work that's being done through initiatives such as GLASS, etc. All this is towards the goal of seeing an improved space for regulation and ultimately an improvement in the water and sanitation services that we're providing. Next slide, please. So how do we develop this call to action? Let's say that
if you could conclude, please, within 1 minute, and just so we save some time as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So the process that we went about was indeed a multi-stakeholder collaboration. We had about 40 plus representatives from governments, regulators, external support partners, etc., who were engaged in this process from October 2023 to June 2025, when we actually launched the call to action. We were leveraging also as well on some of the regional associations of regulators who really were able to articulate some of the key needs from their own regions about what should be expressed in this call to action and what the key areas for action are. I think we are proud to share that we were able to share as an outcome this shared articulation, this shared need for political action behind regulation, but there's still quite a lot of work to be done. And this will bring me to my next slide, which is the last slide. Next slide, please. And that is to say that the call to action has been launched, but this is actually the beginning of the work. We really now need the regulated and utility constituency, for instance, within SWA, to be looking through this call to action, think about what roadmaps can be defined at a national level to address climate resilience within WASH, and how regulation can be a part of that. For civil society, we really need you to advocate for and promote regulation as a key accountability tool for the sector, and to think about how we can support embedding of policy and regulatory improvements in all the projects that we're working with in the various countries around the world. This issue of leveraging climate financing is still something that requires a lot of learning. There are a lot of utilities or service providers that submit projects, and not all of them are bankable. Beyond the regulator supporting, how can we be improving knowledge dissemination, knowledge sharing, so that more entities are able to tap into that finance? And last is around research. I'm glad to see that Katrina and other researchers are on the call, because this is a personal frustration of mine. We really need to see more research, context-specific research on regulation, on governance, particularly from low and middle-income countries, around what regulatory models work. How do we address some of the unique challenges that vulnerable populations face, people living in peri-urban areas, people living in slums, and as part of that, building climate resilience into that governance and regulatory model as well. I'll stop here, but please do take your phones out and scan the QR code on the screen if you want to know more about the call to action. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Betsy, for that quick run through what WHO is doing with partners on strengthening regulatory systems for water, sanitation, and hygiene. Awesome. If you have any questions for Betsy, or you want to know more, we want to save time right now, so we won't have time for questions at this moment, but please write them in the Q&A function, and then we'll come to those questions when we do have a segment for a more open discussion after we've gone through all the cases. So please note those questions down and we'll get to them. All right, so next, as I mentioned, we have quite a number of constituencies that we are going to run through, about 5 minutes each. Next, we are going to have Remy Cope, who is leading the Container-Based Sanitation Alliance and is speaking on behalf of the private sector constituents and sharing insights from that constituency. Remy, the mic is yours.
Merci beaucoup. J'espère que
Thank you so much.
vous m'entendez bien ainsi que tout le monde.
I hope that you can hear me
Je
well.
suis donc le directeur de l'Alliance
So
pour le
I'm the
assainissement par
director
conteneur, ou
of
Container-Based
the
Sanitation.
Container-Based Sanitation
Je vais
Alliance,
faire un petit
and
récapitulatif de qu'est-ce
I'm
que
going
c'est que
to
CBS,
recap
ou
and
Container-Based
explain
Sanitation,
what
et
the
je vais
CBS or Container-Based Sanitation is, and then I'm going to explain the link of it to our subject today. So CBS is a type of sanitation where users dispose, or they have these toilets with a small container, but these containers need to be frequently emptied. So once every 2 weeks, well, it depends on the place that they are located. The advantage is that you don't need to make any hole, so you can have this in flooded areas, in cities, so in informal places, and so in informal spaces they can be used. But the con is that they need to be emptied. But well, this is a service and users can see what they get from it. And we obtain fresh urines and fecal matter. And with that, we can obtain byproducts, good quality byproducts for animal feeding, etc. I will not go into details now, but I'm going to share with you a link and you will have access to more information if you want. So our alliance has... Next slide, please. Thank you. So our alliance is 18 organizations throughout the world. They are all private. So they are either companies, either so NGOs that offer these services. They are closer to the users, and they are also very committed as W8, as we just heard from WHO. That was so important, and we really agree with everything that has been said. And so it's quite interesting because I'm going to explain today the resilience part of it and the emissions part of it. Next slide, please. Now regarding resilience. Next slide, please. There are many problems that we can have with this climate change. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So one of the main problems for climate are floodings. So too much water. Here we have a picture from Haiti. This picture was taken around 6 months ago. So what can we do? When you are an engineer and you know you need to provide these services, what can you do in places like that? And everything that you know how to do is to dig reservoirs, for example. So that's where we come in and we said, okay, if you have another sanitation system, maybe you'll be able to have them working even in these situations. We are not just saying that CBS systems are better than others. It's just another alternative that we have at our disposal. Next slide, please. So we've seen this interestingly here, for example. Yes, if you cannot hear me or following me, you should choose English for the interpretation. So you see here Kenya and Haiti, these flooding situations, okay, in context. So when there aren't these toilet systems, you know, you can use this CBS system. So this is just another alternative, and that's very helpful for users. Now, another climate problem, it's droughts. When we don't have enough water, this is also a problem, a very severe problem in Lima. I think that Lima in Peru is the city with the highest water stress. And then we have this other picture taken from some years ago, people queuing up to get some water. So having toilets that need less water is quite important. That's what they're doing in Cape Town now. They are looking for solutions. They have invented systems that need less water. So we really need to think about that, and we need to offer choices to our users. These are just some examples. In our alliance, we will soon publish a summary on all these responses to climate issues. Regarding emissions, we know now that sanitation causes a lot of carbon emissions because of the methane that is emitted in anaerobic conditions when these pits aren't emptied frequently. And we know that these emissions could account for half of the emissions in Uganda. In Kampala, we see this type of traffic quite often, so it's difficult for us to imagine that toilets can emit as much as all these vehicles, but that's the case. It's true. Maybe one day vehicles will become electric, but we will never stop using toilets. So we need to really deal with that problem. And it's also interesting to see that we can reduce these emissions, but we need to do that in a very conscious way. Okay? We have seen that I'm going to simplify things, okay? So researchers, and if you really like things quite strictly, well, I'm going to be quite, summarizing things here. So we have seen that there is this potential for 80 to 90% emission reductions. You have two means. You can capture methane. You can reuse it if you have captured it before. But then if you have septic pits, for example, you need to empty them quite regularly. And you need for that to use a treatment with anaerobic conditions. That's the case of our CBS system. There are other ways of getting here also, but in our case, we have proven that we can reduce from 80 to 90% of emissions. So we can use these systems after some years of work in Kenya and in Haiti. We've worked with two companies and they were able to get some carbon funds using this CBS system. Okay. They've used different models, but both were based on this reduction of emissions. We will soon, as I said, publish a summary of these experiences because I don't have time today. But yes, of course, we know that it's complex because you need 2 years of work by specialists before you start to see results. It's quite expensive and it's around $20 per toilet per year. Okay, that's quite limited because it's expensive. So if you do this at the city or country level, it's quite good. It's really beneficial. Next slide, please. It's my last slide. Thank you. So we see that there is really huge potential, but the carbon revenues need to be at the city or the country level. Okay, so it has to be led by the government. They can use the Article 6 mechanisms, okay, and they can really use this mechanism for these countries. But for that, the sanitation has to be included in the NDCs, and it is ongoing, okay? But we need to continue working. In Nepal, for example, they are doing this and other countries will come. So there is a lot of potential. The credits can be sold more expensive and this can become really a very good source of income for operators. Now, regarding the resilience, what we have seen is that we need several solutions. Of course, we need to go beyond sewage or beyond one only solution. No, we need to have different alternatives, okay, in case of climate issues. And we have really learned a lot of things from the communities. That's what we've learned for these CBS systems. Okay, thank you for your attention. I can take your questions in French or in English in the chat. And Daniel, back to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Remy. And once again, yeah, if you have any questions for Remy or any of the other speakers, please do post them in the Q&A function, and we'll get to them during our open discussion segment. So now we're going to move from the private sector and then go to the utilities and regulatory constituency. And in this case, we have Jimena Quiroz, who is going to be speaking to us from the Lisbon International Center for Water. Over to you, Jimena.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jimena Quiroz, expert regarding water and sanitation. It's a pleasure to be here to share you with our global experiences and the role of the new tool that we have in Liswater for the strengthening of the governance of the services of water and sanitation. Liswater is an international center of knowledge and reflection on the governance of water. We work to support governments and regulators, operators, all sectors to improve their policies, practices, and results. We do this through actions, research, and international actions. And we've been doing this for 5 years. So we have more than 20 programs for training in more than 40 countries. We work with more than 350 entities, including 50 regulators in the operating centers. And we have trained more than 1,000 professionals. As you can see, we are present in Europe, Latin America, the Caribbean, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. And this global presence is important because we have common challenges that we can challenge and that we can help resolve. Next slide. Now, regarding the climate risks that affect water and sanitation that we have worked on, for example, in the case of Peru, the environmental risks such as the El Nino phenomenon, the droughts that we know very well, like the flooding in along the northern coast. And this has a lot of institutional challenges and territory planning. And this is quite serious for the population in terms of supplying quality water and sanitation. Some years ago, we saw a lot of prolonged droughts in Uruguay from 22 to 23, and also the climate variability and water stress. The regulator is promoting the diversification on these sources that they had to mix seawater with drinking water. It was very risky, above all for the elderly, who could suffer through this, including high blood pressure. So now they are diversifying the origins of the sources and planning the strengthening of the systems in Brazil, prolonged droughts in the northeast and southeast, but also intense flooding in the Amazon and the south that affect the drainage and sanitation systems, an increasing risk for water contamination. And so we need to protect the dams. In Portugal, we have more and more frequent droughts, especially in the southern part, and also less availability of water and more flooding caused by extreme phenomena. And the Portuguese regulator is very strong institutionally and is incentivizing efficiency in the consumption and usage of water, and also planning to diversify the different systems. Another country, Cabo Verde, the structural scarcity of water exacerbated by climate change and a very strong dependency on the energy sector and the regulator, and regarding the renewable energy along the coast. Next slide, please. Regarding the work in the sector, we have a reinforcement of regulation that we call WaterGov, which is a tool for the complete diagnosis of the regulatory systems. It assesses through three sub-areas and includes all the indicators possible from each regulator with an international reference. we channel all the parts of the system, all the laws, institutions, human resources, regulation tools, and we talk about all the strong points and weak points. So we give like a recipe to the country to improve, and within this diagnosis, we also assess how the system is prepared to deal with climate risks, among other challenges. We've already worked with 14 countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. We've worked with 4 countries in Africa, 1 country in Asia, and 1 in Europe. Each country is in a different stage, going from the growth and the analysis that we share, as well as some are already in the final validation stage with the plans, and we already have some in the action plans. Now let me focus on the reinforcement of regulation and assessment of the institutional and regulation frameworks to assess the impact of climate change that are very important. Besides that, sorry.
If you could conclude in a minute, please. Yeah.
Could you come to a closing, please? Okay, so we're just giving some tips on the assessment regarding data in terms of innovation. We are using tools of diagnosis and to assess the regional capacity. We include the climate indicators in monitoring the implementation of these public policies, as well as a collaboration platform. Next, please. So we have pending challenges. We have the institutional collaboration, because we have a lot of institutional fragmentation and the planning of water services. So we also have a lack of preventive maintenance and monitoring of climate changes. We have low investment in technical and regulatory capacities to face the climate changes. We have gaps in data, as I've already mentioned, and limited participation from the civil society. So, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about. We need to integrate the climate risk in regulation, and also we need sustainable financing for the adaptation. And I hope we can all benefit from the exchange of knowledge. And lastly, next slide. Lastly, we are talking about the opportunities for collaboration. We think this is important to generate synergies between regulators, the operators, because, for example, governments, universities, NGOs in the private sector are important, and also to use this tool that I mentioned earlier, the WaterGov. If it's done only with regulators, not enough. We need all the sectors. This is a tool that can help build national strategies and also create financing mechanisms to reinforce the regulators. And as I've already mentioned, to promote learning spaces between peers and regional platforms. Thank you very much for your attention.
Super. Thank you very much, Jimena, for this overview of the work that is going on in the utilities in the Lisbon context, and for sharing your experience there with us. Now we are going to move from the utilities and regulators constituency to hear more from the research and learning constituents. And in this case, we are going to have a double, so to speak, first from Duke University, and then we shall also be hearing from Triangle Environment and Health. So we're going to start with Mara Shugot, and then Tate Rogers will also share some insights as well. Please keep it to 5 minutes tops, so that we can save some time for the questions and the interaction as well. Over to you, Mara. Thank you.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. My name is Mara, and I'm coming to you from the Duke University Center for Water, Sanitation, and Infectious Disease. So I'm going to talk today briefly about a technology that we have developed and done advanced field testing with called the Reclaimer. It's a household and building scale black water treatment technology. It is an example of a sewer sanitation technology. So it does not need connection to a sewer or a water input. We developed it at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina in the United States, and it's been field tested extensively in Coimbatore, India. You can see there we have pictures of our lab and then also the field testing in Coimbatore. This talk is going to focus specifically on the third prototype. Next slide, please. This is a multi-stakeholder collaboration. The project was funded by the Gates Foundation. It involved our university as well as PSG Institute of Medical Sciences and Research in India and the India Engineering Field Testing Team. The particular third prototype that we're discussing was manufactured in India. We worked with a private factory, it was a textile mill, to install the field testing, the bathroom that we used for field testing. And then we worked with users over many years to provide feedback on the multiple prototypes. I would say the challenges continue to be the commercialization of the technology and the fragmentation in the regulatory landscape. Next slide, please. In terms of results and key learnings, the technology was tested, as I mentioned, extensively over many years, 3 different prototypes, and we have multiple publications that have come out about how the technology performed, and we did a techno-economic analysis of the technology as well. And we also did studies on user preferences and user behavior in sanitation. We also recently published a compendium of lessons learned from engineering field testing at 3 sites around the world. The site at Coimbatore, India, as well as AIT in Thailand and in Durban, South Africa. So that is an open access publication that is available that discusses the challenges and the opportunities and the necessity of field testing and addresses everything from budgeting and finance to logistics. It's a helpful, extremely helpful publication if anyone is interested in field testing their technologies. We do believe that non-sewered sanitation systems such as the reclaimer could be one solution to address water scarcity that we're seeing in cities around the world. The non-sewered sanitation, as I mentioned, does not require a water input, and the reclaimer treats black water to a standard that allows for reuse, such as flushing or agricultural uses or industrial uses. So it's a technology that we're really excited about, and we're currently seeking commercial partners. Thank you very much. I tried to make that as quick as I could.
Thanks a lot, Mara, for that short and sweet overview, as it were. Kate, over to you then.
Sure. I'll try to keep the theme of moving quickly here. My name is Tate Rogers. I'm the principal and founder at Triangle Environmental. We're also based here in Durham. We've worked closely with Duke WashAid since their inception and our inception about 10 years ago. So we are a consulting and R&D group, as I mentioned, based here in North Carolina. We have done a lot of work throughout Sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia, but we're also starting to focus here in the US. So I wanted to pull out one case study that we're working on in terms of on-site wastewater treatment and reuse in Virginia. So this is on the East Coast of the US. We're down in North Carolina where you see our headquarters. We're working in the Middle Peninsula, which you can see in the green there. And we have a couple of pilot sites where we're treating on-site wastewater, septic tank effluent to reuse standards where we can either reuse or just directly discharge to the environment. So sea level, climate change is really hitting this area of Virginia hard. They're facing some of the worst sea level rise in the world. So the sea's coming up and they're also running their aquifers down. And so the water is just coming up quickly. For traditional septic systems, you need some dry soil to be able to do the treatment properly. That water table's coming up. There's not enough room. There's not enough dry soil to be able to treat the wastewater properly. So what that means is pathogens, nutrients, everything's going right out into the waters, causing a lot of issues. These areas are very rural. You can't really get sewer out there. So there's 80,000 systems just in this little area in Virginia, but along the east coast of the US, you're talking about millions of systems that are probably going to be failing over the next 50 years. And so they need solutions. Next slide. So I'll talk about the technology just in a second, but just in terms of opportunities for challenge and opportunities for collaboration, you really need a lot. I mean, this is focused on the local level. We're also doing work at the national level in terms of reuse, but septic treatment, on-site treatment in the US has been a very traditional industry. And so to like bring new innovation there, you really need stakeholders, multi-level stakeholders. And so, and you can't, in these local rural areas, you can't just go in and be a company bringing in a new innovation and hope it works. You really have to like put in the effort, partner with local industry partners. And so we came in through funding from the state. And then we've been working with local municipalities, local advocacy groups from the beginning. And so that's really helped us kind of get a foothold there. And we've been piloting systems that we've used as showcases to show the community what we're doing and making sure that everyone's on board. And then obviously we need manufacturing commercialization partnerships for this system. For these systems, we were partnering with Arenco, who is a national leading on-site wastewater group. And then, of course, we need to work with the local regulators, local installers, local engineers. There's a lot of stakeholders that you need just to get a system on the ground. Next slide. And so here you can see our system that this is actually at a living lab, but it's connected to a home. So that system, the little brown box you see behind there, is our treatment system for a home, and it's 6 feet off the ground. So there to meet standards, we had to be base flood elevation plus 3 feet. So this treatment system is actually 6 feet off the ground. And we're demonstrating that we can make water clean enough where you don't need a drain field anymore. You can discharge it to the environment or reuse it in the home for non-potable needs. And so we've had 2 pilots running, one that's been running for over a year and a half, one that just started up at a commercial facility, and we're working towards our first sale, hopefully next year. And I touched on this in the last slide, but really to be successful, you need to work with stakeholders across the board and really focus on building out those local partnerships. I'll put my email in the chat if you have any questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Tate and Mara, for that quick overview of your work on R&D, but also efforts at commercializing solutions that can contribute to increasing resilience. So colleagues, last but not least, we are going to have a brief presentation from the Civil Societies Organizations Constituency, and that's going to be led by Ana Maria Acevedo from the HOMAS as the Executive Director. So thank you very much, and over to you, Ana Maria.
Thank you very much. Good morning. We are Redes del Agua, and I'm going to give the word to Georgina for a brief presentation. Then I'm going to keep on talking, then Omar, and we're going to do this presentation all together. Thank you very much for your attention. Georgina. Hello, good morning. Just very briefly, Redes del Agua, it's a platform of different organizations at a Latin American level. We have 18 organizations with over 27 years of experience integrating the human right to water and basin management. We have presence from Mexico to Peru, covering different ecosystems in different social and environmental contexts. So now, Ana Maria. We have different challenges for the water management in Latin America. I believe that you have mentioned different challenges already. Water stress, climate change threatens this region. We have the El Niño phenomenon that it's every time more severe. we have a lack of prevention and risk management with material damage and human loss, a weak governance, and limited institutional capacity and low citizen participation in water management bodies, especially in basin councils. And also, there is a contamination of water sources and without state control. Also, criminalization of water and environmental defenders. This is something that also needs our attention. Next slide, please. This is an experience from Peru. We've already heard that Peru suffers from water stress. We have an unequal water distribution. We have 3 water regions, and 70% of the population that is in the coast only has 1.76% of the different water resources of the country. And we have worked in this experience. It's not the only one, there are many others, but is to capture rainwater in one of the 3 basins that provides the Lima city that has millions of inhabitants. We have increased this water capture with ancient practices for this rainwater collection. We have worked into reservoirs in 2 communities, and a training that I believe that has been an important lesson learned, sharing the knowledge of the different communities in water management and their territories. We have worked in the environmental management plan, and this water capture has been in 4 months because the rest of the year there isn't any rainwater. We have improved this water availability and also the irrigation. We are working closely with the basin councils in Peru since 2009. We have 12 basin councils created, and we are part of the Chirilurin Basin Council. And we believe that this practice and this recognition of this peasant knowledge that is not just the reservoir of water, it's one of the alternatives that will help construct the water resilience for the use of water in the population, as well as in other areas. Omar, please go ahead. We come from Honduras.
If you could kindly conclude in about 2 minutes. Yeah. So, thank you.
Yeah, sure. We have worked in several areas, but we work in the Basin Council. So we work in this region in Honduras with a population of over 2,085,000 people, and 47% of the territory, there's a high risk of drought, and the water capacity is not enough to be able to stock in the drought period. So our association has participated in different councils, and we are working in the fees, in the current fees and the upcoming fees to protect these basins. The intervention of HASA is also in the action plan of the microbasin to develop local capacities. This is connected to the protection of the aquifers and to be able to offer water and sanitation services to guarantee water all year long. The basin produces melon, watermelon, and the coast ecosystem also produces fisheries and the industry of shrimp, maybe the biggest one in Central America. We also have problems of poverty indexes in the area, and the water is also connected to the commitment of economic development. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. No, sorry. We don't have much time. So here you can see some of the activities and some pictures of the people participating. We work with the users. We strengthen the users in their behavior and processes. The idea is to strengthen the processes at a community level so they have the necessary resources to improve the system and the quality of service and the environmental sustainability. Thank you, Mar. Georgina, very briefly, and just to show you a bit of what we do in other parts of Latin America, we have projects that have over 20 years of watershed-based land management. This is in the part of the Gulf of Mexico, and we have worked in the basin management, but also in the part of the integrated management and the creation of different connections to have an impact and advocacy in public policies and to generate plans with a 30-year outlook. And this needs a multi-stakeholder approach. We have different solutions that help mitigate the effects of climate change, such as the capture of rainwater, the preservation of forests, among other practices. If there is no political will, this is not going to be enough in the long term. And we cannot generate social pressure if we don't construct the ways for the transformation that are connected for those who make decisions. I'm going to leave it here, but because we don't have more time. Thank you. Thank you, Georgina. In alliances and challenges, it's essential to have partnerships with the local government. As a civil society, we also work at the local level. The private companies, urban areas, etc. We work also with networks, with NGOs, and different organizations in the civil societies. When we work in inclusive training, we need to include women because in general, these are the ones who manage and suffer the lack of water. So they have an essential role in the water management, not only at a water and sanitation level, but also in the water source management, in the improvement of the irrigation channels, and the active participation that we have in the basin.
Ana Maria, so that we can move to some questions. Yeah? Yes.
Yeah, just one more thing. I believe that the knowledge of the peasants is very important to also integrate the different bodies that are committed with the water management, protect aquifers and ecosystems, and to guarantee the right to water and climate justice, and to increase investment in ecosystem services, water and sanitation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ana Maria, for sharing those experiences, and Georgina as well, as Omar, taking us through integrated water resource management approaches in Peru, Mexico, and Honduras as well. Colleagues, I see there is only one question so far, or a couple of questions in the Q&A, but please, you're welcome to still make use of the Q&A feature to ask your questions, and then we'll have the panelists respond to them. But for now, we're also going to have some interactive questions as well that we'll deal with in this segment. Are they ready to come up?
Just Daniel, I think, yeah, Vanessa,
Yes.
colleagues, yeah, or Bella, please.
Sorry. So, for the interactive questions, you have to go on poll quizzes. So I have launched them, but each participant needs to individually go into the polls/quizzes option at the bottom of your screen. It's on the right-hand bottom corner, and click on those questions.
Thanks for that reminder. I'd assume they would pop up. Okay, so everyone, there is just 4 questions in the poll feature as Bella has guided us. Please do respond to them and let's see what the answers look like. Yes, please, Mena.
Can we write the answers in writing, or do we have to answer orally?
For the questions in the Q&A feature, you can put in writing. Yes, in writing for now. Okay. Yes, we see some answers coming up to the questions. Question 4, I think, has some answers, but question 1, 2, and 3, no answers yet. Please, you have to click each of the questions in the poll and provide a response to them. Thank you. See, 36% of the participants have responded at least to question 4, but there's question 1 and 2 and 3 as well. Okay, answers are coming in for question 1. So, Jose, maybe over to you. You could take us through question 1 as the answers come in, and then maybe we'll move in turn to question 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. I think Bella will have to assist us with the launching of each of the questions. So right now, I think the polling is open for question 1. We see on the screen, this question is about the constituency that you represent. So at the moment, we wanted to feel the temperature as to how the representation of each of the different constituencies we have. Now we see that we have a lot of representation from civil society. The highlights could be that we do have representation from all the constituencies, and a very good representation from civil society, followed by research and learning, external support agencies, private sector, and we are lagging a little behind with utilities and regulators. But maybe we can use the time now, Bella, to launch question 2. Yeah. So now, Daniel, what the question we have now is on the priorities, right? We have said that the objectives of the call is to discuss as well, after all this showcasing of different work by the constituencies on opportunities for collaboration. So here we have a question on potential priorities for collaboration on climate action across the different constituencies. So here are options that we have. The one that it's leading at the moment is a priority for collaboration comes around advocacy and policy influence, followed by resource mobilization. This is gaining momentum right now. Capacity building as well. During the webinar, we have got the research and learning constituency, right, making a strong call for the need for more research Sharing data and research at the moment is lagging behind in terms of an observed priority among the participants of the call. Again, we have competing advocacy and policy influence with resource mobilization. But yeah, there is also identification of capacity building and research sharing data as priorities for collaboration across the different constituencies. And Daniel, we also have question 3. In this case, the question turns around the tools and resources that could help improve cross-constituency collaboration on climate action. So here, at the moment, we got votes towards regular coordination calls, also knowledge learning and sharing opportunities. This one is gaining momentum right now in terms of knowledge, learning and sharing opportunities. We also have joint advocacy campaigns through capacity development workshops, identifying funding opportunities. Yeah, it seems that the option that is most voted at the moment is knowledge learning across constituencies and sharing opportunities for learning across constituencies. This one is leading, followed by identifying opportunities for climate financing. And maybe, Bella, if we could get a final quick look at question 4, just to see how question 4 was voted. Question 4 was around how do you see as the biggest challenge for cross-constituency collaboration on climate action. And here, the one that has been identified as a winning cause of such challenge and limited cross-collaboration is on the limited resources, followed by different priorities established or envisioned across the different constituencies, and seems to be less of a challenge, the potential communication barriers. Daniel, this is a quick overview of the four questions. Maybe turning back to you for continuation before you hand over to concluding remarks. Back to you, Daniel.
Thanks a lot, Jose, for taking us through these questions. It's interesting that one of the biggest challenges is limited resources, but I guess that makes sense as well, because one of the priorities for collaboration is resource mobilization. So I think that the two responses are quite closely linked. So hopefully, as we see more partners collaborating to mobilize resources, we can get to address this particular challenge, but also to figure out what type of resources exactly, what types, what quantities of resources are needed to unlock these challenges that we face together.
Then just a quick comment to say that the poll will be made available as well after the call and disseminated through the full mailing list. So those of you that have participated can rethink your question, but others will be participating, and we commit as a secretariat, Daniel, we will commit to take a good look to these questions and to try to analyze a little bit more where are they coming from and which constituencies reacted in which way. So yeah, we would like to do a further analysis. Back to you, Daniel.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just to mention that I think we had 4 questions in total that were raised in the Q&A feature, and already 2 of those have been answered, and the other 2 are also answers are forthcoming as well. I think there was one about climate resilience in service delivery, and then another question also about financing adaptation that are being responded to. If you have any other questions, please keep them coming in the Q&A feature, and the panelists will definitely respond to them. So, friends, we are coming to the close of our session today. We've taken a whirlwind tour, as I might call it, around the world, moving everywhere from global organizations that are working globally, but also partners that are working more nationally in different contexts and situations, but all targeted towards addressing climate action in water and sanitation systems. But it's not my role to reflect on what has been shared, and for that I will invite Mr. Sitali to come and give some concluding reflections on what has been shared and maybe what he sees as next steps for us as a partnership in response to what has been discussed today. Sitali, over to you. Thank you.
Marketplace, so to say, is something that is a welcome progression for you, our partners. And our intention is to be able to do this again in the coming year, perhaps not only one, but perhaps do do two in the coming year. Sorry, I was just putting the English interpretation. So the second thing was to appreciate also our Secretariat colleagues who have been working behind the scenes to make this possible. You may have interacted with most of them. Vanessa, who I haven't seen on the screen, but she's there, and Bella, Jose, Kevin, Balvant, and several others as well, Lucia, who were also able to make the platform function. Daniel, big thanks for moderating the session. There are a few things that came out. I won't go into specific details, but perhaps before I go into that, let me just address one of the questions that came from Barbara. And I hope I'm not forgetting other questions. So there was a question about what SWA is doing regarding this significant financing challenge, that we're not just raising the need for more money or using existing money better, but that we are also addressing some of the fiscal space issues related to debt contraction, debt sustainability. In the context of the sector ministers meeting, there will be a conversation also on finance, so we hope that this can continue the discussion. We have addressed some of this in the minister's handbook, and of course the challenge is different now, or rather it has magnified. It is more than it was when the handbook was done. However, this is an area where we work with different partners to bring the issue to the fore, to have discussions with finance ministers in our finance ministers' conversations, and also in the sector ministers' meeting. I'm just looking at the time, so I will try and go through this very quickly. Some of the things that emerged in the discussion were mostly focusing on scaling existing models. So I think there was really good discussions and examples from scaling existing models, and also cross-collaborative ideas in terms of bringing action, particularly on the call to action by WHO that most actors are also participating in. We also had new ideas from Duke University that are being tested, which I think are interesting for us to consider. Our CSO colleagues also really highlighted the need for strong participation, for increasing local knowledge, and for strengthening some of these ideas that are emerging from communities. One key thing that remains critical is to link this to the political action. It is good to work across with different sector players. How do we get the political actors into play? And that is what the sector ministers meeting will try to do. So I will end at this point, Daniel, just looking at time, and many, many thanks to everyone for participating and for making this happen. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, Sitali, for those concluding reflections on what has been shared today. Then I guess the only thing that remains to be done, even though you did that already, is to once again say warm round of applause to all the panelists today that have spared their time to share with us their experiences and insights from the different initiatives that are being done around the world. So thank you very much. And of course, to all the 70 participants that are still hanging with us up to the last minute. I think at some point we're 96, then we rose to about 110 or something like that, and now we are down to 70. But thanks for sticking with us through and also contributing and participating actively in listening, and also the poll questions as well as the comments and questions in the Q&A. So from all of us, thank you, and have a great rest of the day, rest of the evening, rest of the afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.